could only vote in the state that that ID card came from. And I think that obviously would eliminate the problem across the board, unless, of course, some people start, fraudulently passing these things off like they do with Social Security cards and stuff like that. But
and not only, Jonathan, not only in the state, but in a specific address that the ID you would present at the polling place would, in fact, be the one that's on the books. And if those addresses don't match up, then you get a provisional ballot, and that's not going to count until that disconnect is corrected. And that is a radical step, but it's one that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and this seems to be the one that the left opposes the most, is the idea that you're going to have to present some kind of ID, and it's only going to be good for the state that you're in, or the district, or the address, or whatever it is.
Right, and somehow it's a big burden, to keep your record straight and to be current and all that sort of thing. It does involve some effort, but it's this kind of cavalier attitude about the security of the ballot box that really raises issues. And we have one raging out here right now about voting machines, these touch-screen machines. The state had ordered the jurisdictions to put these machines into service 10 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, they're obsolete, and they're making changes on the fly with just less than 60 days to our primary elections out here. So it's all turmoil. It all seems to be part of a grand plan just to keep the ball hidden, to hide the ball, and to keep things in a state of, uproar, upheaval, and suspicion. I think really it's bad for the country because it really nullifies or at least undermines the credibility of the voting process.
Well, yeah, and it feeds right into the Alinsky idea of divide and conquer. Let's isolate, let's target, let's demonize, and then let's ostracize for the purpose of being able to do whatever we want to do. For fear of reprisal for standing up and saying, hey, why don't we follow the law? I love the fact that the left, who I believe are in the business of legislating immorality and illegalities for the purpose of pandering to their voting blocs, are also the same people that attack laws so adamantly and so fiercely when they go against, when they actually contribute to a civil society per se. But we're going to go to a break here, and when we come back, I have one last question here for our guest, Kenric Ward from watchdog.org. So stay with us right here on the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. Show archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted financial expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known and syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time, firsthand, from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Bob airs live every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. or you can choose any one of his archive shows at blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. That's blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live for complete and honest commentary on politics, finances, and culture. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, hey, we're back right here on the Conservative Syndicate, and I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. I've got my co-host, Joe Hakos, here from Dry Report, running the board for me tonight over on the other side of the country here, and doing a good job with it. I don't know what the technical problem is here, but anyway, it is what it is. We have Kenric Ward with us from watchdog.org. And we're talking about this article that came out, that he put out regarding the True the Vote survey, 28 states, over 6.9 million duplicate ballots. I wanted to ask you, Kenric, in the time that we have left here, one of my big issues is the idea of how I think we're making it too easy for people to vote in this country, and therefore it's too easy to commit voter fraud. And I just wanted to get your opinion. What do you think about mail-in ballots? I'm not real keen on this idea. I can see absentee ballots if you're out of the country, but other than that, I really think a person has to make the effort to show up.
Yeah, that and early voting has really become almost the norm these days. I'm dating myself here a little bit, but it's really proliferated, and I think again, it sort of goes to either the convenience or the connivance of the process. I think it is entirely too loose and too open-ended. I don't think there's any real way you can police and enforce the security on those things, and especially when you look at how military ballots have been routinely misplaced or never arrive. It seems like a double standard. I just don't really like that kind of system at all, where it's just entirely too easy to gin up a fraud.
Yeah, do you see anything in the foreseeable future in terms of people, legislators or movements like yours or True the Vote, to actually try to make this a situation where that's what's going to happen, where we get away with the, do away with the early voting? I find it remarkable that, the big thing they keep claiming about voter ID is, well, you're disenfranchising people that live out in the boonies somewhere that can't make it in. Well, if they're voting by mail, I don't know why that would be an issue. But I just think that it should be, you should have to show up. You should have to prove that who you are in order to cast a ballot.
Right. I agree. I mean, for all the so-called progress that we have in this country, we don't seem to be getting very far. With this vote machine snafu that we've got going here in Virginia, one of the rural counties is actually going to go back to hand counting ballots in the primary election. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a small enough county, they can reasonably do it. I think it's the big cities, the urban centers that are really the spawning ground for the most fraudulent activity. Mm-hmm. And why someone would need to mail in a ballot when they're 2 blocks away from the polling place. Right. Is it really that inconvenient?
Yeah, and we don't want to get them off their couch, out of their slippers, into their boots, I guess.
If they even exist.
Yeah. God forbid that you should miss a part of the view or something like that. Okay, I really want to take the time. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on. We're talking to Kenric Ward from watchdog.org. I wanted to give you a minute or so to plug whatever it is you need to plug right now.
Well, that's very generous of you. Really, I would encourage your listeners to go to watchdog.org, and we have bureaus in 24 states. And you can pull down a list of state bureaus from that homepage. So we write national stories, but we're really focused a lot on state issues. And you can go to the page and see if your state is represented with a Watchdog Bureau. Our reporters have email addresses and phone numbers attached to their stories. And if you are in their area, I would encourage you to reach out. We're always looking for story ideas from the grassroots. We don't sit around and read press releases. We like to get those stories from real people.
Okay. So that's watchdog.org, right? Now, is your website, do you have a different one, like watchdogvirginia.org, if you want to contact Kenric personally, Kenric, Kenric, at watchdogvirginia.org. Again, Kenric, I really appreciate you coming on. I'd like to stay in touch with you as the election comes closer, because I think this voter ID thing is going to become one of the central planks of the left.
Well, you have my email information, and I appreciate your reading our site, and you can be sure there'll be more stories. I'll be writing one tomorrow, so stay tuned.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, John, thank you.
All right, take care. God bless. Okay, guys, it's time for the Edwards Notebook, and we'll be coming up right here on the, we're coming up right close to the hour. We got a few more minutes before I want to launch the book. What did you think of what Kenric had to say, Joe?
Oh, it was, absolutely interesting. I was just curious as to how many improvements, if any, have been made. I know he's in Virginia where McAuliffe is out there, and are they fighting it all? Because, it's a hindrance, and they want to always throw the voter intimidation and like, the days of Jim Crow and everything where they had a poll tax and all that stuff on there. It's making it more difficult for people to go up there and get an ID to vote. And, it was just one of those things. The thing he described where you had you have to have the correct address on file and on the card you're carrying. And that's really what we do here in Florida is if you don't have it match up, we'll allow you to vote. You can vote. It's a provisional vote, but you're going to have to come back in, and for your vote to count, you're going to have to show us exactly what you need to show us. Otherwise, the vote won't count. So you do get the vote. So when they say you're denied the right to vote, that's not correct. You still get the vote. Now you have to prove you are who you say you are at a later date. Just come on. You have to go down and make another effort. But you should have taken care of that prior to showing up at the polling place.
Well, we have out here in California, one of the things I would say is there is a lot of integrity at the polling place. To actually go into a polling place, we have to go in and we don't have to show ID to vote, but they have our name on a log and have the address that we're living at, and they verify that before you vote. Is this where you live at? So we do it that way. If you have a mail-in ballot, like we've been doing the last couple of years because we were out of the country during a couple of the elections, and so we voted early, and they actually have a notation on your name, vote by mail, so they know you can't come in and vote twice. Where we have the problem out here in California is obviously in registering people that we can't really validate even belong here legally, and two, the idea that ballots, absentee ballots and stuff like that get stolen. They get picked up. We have a lot of colleges out here, so we have the same thing. People out here at a four-year university, Cal State Long Beach, UCI, USC, UCLA, and they leave, and their mail shows up at the dorm, and that ends up in one of the liberal tanks over there. Because none of these schools out here are conservative. Some of them they border on communistic, actually. And so, that all that contributes to it. I did think it was noteworthy that, the organization True the Vote, which is one of the key organizations that went after the IRS. They were one of the key organizations.
The IRS went after them.
Yeah, the IRS went after them, but they are the ones that initially filed the lawsuit against the IRS that everybody's looking at right now. Yeah. And that was dropped later when they were issued their exempt status, and is being picked up by other groups as more like a class action suit against the IRS for what they did. So the idea that somebody like True the Vote is at the forefront of this is also explains why they were at the forefront of the IRS targeting. So,
coincidence.
What a coincidence. Yeah, one of those liberal concocted scandals, Anyway, okay, it's time for the Edwards Notebook, guys. We're going to do that. We're going to pay a couple bills, and we'll come back. Stay with us right here on the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
While Christians are beheaded by Muslims and babies are murdered by misguided individuals of all stripes, the left is more concerned about cakes. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, recently Pope Francis solemnly stated that martyrs